Welcome to Finding Roots, the show where I discover the diverse worlds and cultures of renowned musicians, delving into their unique stories while uncovering the passions and motivations that drive them in their musical journeys, while recreating flavors that are significant in their lives. Dutch singer-songwriter Josh Ireland is known for his heartfelt lyrics and soulful melodies.
Circle round the day. There's nothing left to celebrate. You're somewhere far away. I'm learning to accept my fate. No sweet surprise. We just long goodbye is gone.
In today's episode, Josh and I cooked Indonesian while discussing the meaning of home through food and language. When I asked Josh what food he felt was rooted in his heritage, it turned out to be a more challenging question than I had anticipated.
I'm Dutch, and the Netherlands used to have Indonesia as a Dutch colony. Not something that we are proud of course, but Indonesian food has really influenced Dutch culture afterwards. And so I remember growing up, my mom making Indonesian food at home for special occasions. It tended to be these types of meals where you spend 3-4 days in the kitchen because they can be quite time intense. As you probably found out yourself, you were spending 3-4 days in the kitchen or more. And the interesting thing about my family's history with Indonesia, so my grandma grew up there and her father before settled there. He was an engineer at a sugar factory, and my father was born there. So I feel like there is a part of my family's history that I haven't really discovered yet, because I have 4 siblings and they lived there as well before I was born. So they have experiences and memories from Indonesia that I never got to experience. I only hear about them and I taste them through food.
Anybody who knows my cooking knows that I cook a lot of Asian food, but it's mostly Chinese.
Josh and I were on the same page with the notion that the concept of home can be deeply personal and sometimes entirely unrelated to our genetic heritage.
But when you said Indonesian, I kind of went, oh my gosh, I have not really cooked Indonesian before. So I spent the last 4 months studying, reading, cooking Indonesian food. It's amazing. I love it.
So I hope that one day, maybe in a couple of years, I get to travel there for the first time and explore the islands and the places that they've lived. But for now, I feel like this type of cuisine brings me closer to, especially my father's side of the family and his history there.
That's such a fascinating story. It's so interesting.
The flavors of Indonesia are closely related to those of their neighboring countries, particularly Malaysia.
Actually, right in the middle of making one pineapple sour spicy relish, what I thought we could do together, we're going to make these Padang style eggs. We're going to take a couple chilies. I thought maybe you could pound them up in the mortar and pestle for me.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have one of these at home, of course. And it's the basis of all curry, or not curries, but pastes.
That was really interesting for me when I was doing all this reading, is I have this spice paste called bumbu, which is like the basis of all the sort of Indonesian style cooking. It's just getting mixed in with the pineapple in a minute. This bumbu is something that you make with variations depending on what kind of food you're making.
So Heather, let me ask you, what do you cook on a very busy weekday?
If I have a day where I've remembered to make rice in the morning, then I'll make some very quick Chinese, like eggs and tomatoes, this really typical home style cooking from my mother-in-law's family. So I'll make that this like super fast. Sometimes I'll do something like a slow-cooked Moroccan stuff.
And what's your favorite recipe from home?
Hang on, Josh. I'll ask the questions here. But since you asked...
Love phone, but don't come easy.
So I have this this Thai coconut sugar, which is really similar to the Japanese one. So we'll put in a little bit of that.
Oh, wow, I can see an immediate difference to the paste. I think Indonesian food has some Chinese, not sure whether it's Chinese influences, but probably.
Yeah, there's been a lot of waves of migration of Chinese people to the Southeast Asian areas. So yeah, there's definitely certain things that I was looking at and thinking, oh, this is very influenced by China. But there was also interesting to see there's some huge influence from India as well, because there was migration in that direction as well. So similar to Singapore.
Okay, quality control.
All the recipes today come from Elenor Ford's amazing Indonesian cookbook, Fire Islands.
Have a little taste. It should be a little sweet, a little sour, quite spicy.
I love spicy food.
Grooving down the alleyway.
So I can tell you a story about spicy food. So my grandma, who sadly passed away last year, but she was 102 years old. So the one I was talking about, who grew up in Indonesia, and she's always adored spicy food. And once she was in a restaurant in the Netherlands, and you have a menu, and you can kind of choose how spicy you would like your food to be, kind of something on a scale of 1 to 10. And 1 or 2 already being quite spicy for the, let's say, the untrained mouth or the palate. And she was like, I'll take 10. And the waiter asked her, Miss, are you sure that you want to take 10? It's very, very, very spicy. She said, no, I'll be fine. So she, the order was taken, the food came, and when the food was placed in front of her, not just the waiter, but even the chef from the kitchen kind of like popped his head out around the corner to see her take the first mouthful. And they're all just waiting and anxious. And when she tried it, she's like, yeah, fine, could be spicier. And everyone was just in awe and shock. She was the first person to take the number 10 on the spiciness. So I love spicy food. In the Netherlands, we love to eat spicy food, but I think my grandma was the hero at consuming all of that.
So we're gonna make these eggs that are called padang style eggs. And so sometimes they just boil them to death, but I kind of prefer it when they're a little bit more like the Japanese style eggs, where it's very bright yellow yolk. They're really pretty. So the way you do it is you take a pin, you just pierce a little hole in the bottom end. So we're gonna need, I think we'll make 12 of these eggs today. We normally go with the fat end, so you can see how there's like a little bit more pointy end. This is the fat end, so I would do it on that side.
And you're piercing it lightly.
Yeah, exactly, just so it just goes through. There's that little air sac that's usually at the end of an egg, and that's usually should go into that. Do you have a timer by any chance? We need 2 minutes, 20 seconds.
And go.
And go. And now I'm just gonna stir it for the 2 minutes, 20 seconds, and this is to make sure the yolk stays in the center. When did you start playing music?
I remember my parents, or especially my mom, suggesting to me that it would be good for me to try a musical instrument. I think I was probably around 4 or 5 years old, and I went for the guitar, and I started learning classical guitar at the age of 5, which I did for roughly 10 years.
Oh.
So my start was always classical guitar. I had a great teacher in Darmstadt, where I was living, near Frankfurt. I lived there for 10 years. And he really taught me, to be musical on the guitar.
I think though that for me, listening to your music, it's really, that makes so much sense that you had a classical background.
There's a man who's stuck outside my door.
Because when I listen to you, I'm always thinking your chord choices, your how your melody fits over your harmony. It's not so simple, which is, I think as a classical musician, sometimes we get frustrated with sort of more contemporary pop music without being too diminishing of it. but because like there feels like everything's been simplified and dumbed down, and I don't feel that with your music at all. I really enjoy it because I feel like there's some complexity there, and the lyrics are fantastic too, which I'm very much a word person. So yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me that you've had this background that you can like delve into. So
Thank you, Heather.
Strange mystery, pieces of the ocean, caught up in the sea.
I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm using classical elements in my music, but there is of course technique and background that I make use of. For example, I'm a big fan of Sting as well, and Sting is, I mean, he's a pop musician. He used to be into jazz a bit more. He used to do more rock and punk, but I can feel when I hear his music, it's accessible. It is pop music, popular music, contemporary music, but there are things happening here and there that make you like really intrigued.
To make Japanese-style eggs, pierce a hole in the fat end of a room temperature egg. Lower it into boiling water and stir for 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Then let it boil for another 4 minutes for a runny yolk, or 4 minutes and 20 seconds for a jammy center.
when did you get to Luxembourg? When did you move here?
I moved to Luxembourg in 2008. So we were living in Darmstadt before, close to Frankfurt. My dad, he works in the satellite industry. Well, he's retired now, but he used to work in the satellite industry. And of course, in Luxembourg, there's a big company, SES Astra. And so he came here for work. From the age of 3 or 4, I would only see him on weekends. So he would always leave on Monday mornings and come back on Friday nights. So my mom did a great job raising us, although my siblings, I have 4 siblings, but they're all 10 years older than me. So I was a little accident that came later. So, you know, most of them were already independent and doing their thing. My sister was heading off to university. My brothers were in the last year of school. So I think at that point, I was the only one that she was really raising. I think even my first musical memory was waiting for my dad to come home from Luxembourg, and we wouldn't really have the television on. We'd be listening, or sometimes, but we would also be listening to classical music, a lot of classical music my mom loved.
And so have you always written all your own lyrics then as well?
Yes, I've always written my own lyrics. Songs are funny things because they come out of nowhere. And I mean, there's an empty space, a silence, and then you have an idea in mind, and that develops into maybe a chord progression or a sound, or a sound landscape, and a story you want to tell. And at the end of this creative process, there is a song. And I mean, that's every song, of course. It didn't exist before, and it was written at some point. But for me, lyrics are always central to music. I think music's about storytelling. Telling a story from start to finish in a short time span of 3 or 4 minutes.
I found myself thinking, Josh's use of storytelling and songwriting traces back to the tradition of troubadours and Scandinavian sagas, using lyrics and music to comment on contemporary themes.
I've always had an interest for journalism and writing and reporting. Back at school, I was making the school newspaper, and I was involved in kind of these types of media after-school activities. And so I decided to go for European Studies in Maastricht in the Netherlands, kind of like a political science program. But pretty early on, I knew that I wanted to do music. So had a great time at university, but knew I wanted to do music. And when I graduated, I was already gigging a lot. And that's what I'm doing right now. So mostly it's composing, recording, of course, doing a lot of concerts, and also songwriting.
After all this talk about music, I was eager to hear Josh and his band perform. They graciously agreed to record a version of Charles and James, a brilliantly funny song about 2 debt collectors. Joining Josh were Pedro Gonzalez on drums and Remy Labe on trumpet.
Charles and James are outside, not making a sound. Then they come walking right in and say, hey, you boy, take a seat now. In black suits and ties, I've seen quite a few. Would you like a coffee or tea or a beer now? Hey, no, we got business to do. Pens out, checks down. I suggest we skip formalities. You're a troublemaker, and now you're a money taker. Pack your bags, baby. This ain't a good place to stay. You won't catch me tomorrow, 'cause I'll be a runaway. Oh, this bright-eyed, beautiful future was going down, down. Was going down, down. Can you at least introduce yourselves? Charles and James, we got this. We got this under control. We own your body and soul. We're taking casual agreement, only signed by one side. No, with Charles and James, yeah, Charles and James. Ladies and gentlemen, excuse me for a moment. The dollar bills don't fall from the sky. I wish I'll be back in a moment, and we can talk about all that's left tonight. I walk to the back, turn around and smile so sweetly, and then bam, I'm out the door and I'm running for my life. Oh, this bright-eyed, beautiful future was going down, down. Was going down, down. Can you at least introduce yourselves? Charles and James, we got this. We got this under control. We own your body and soul. We're thinking, casual agreement, only signed by one side. No. With Charles and James, we got this. We got this under control. We own your body and soul. We're taking casual agreement, only signed by your side. No.
Delicious and delightful day with Josh. Having this chance to meet and chat with a musician with such a different background to my own allowed me to think about my own journey. My hope for this show is that we all can keep our minds and ears open and, in our diversity, find a greater appreciation for the creative process. Until next time, this is Cooking Musician, over and out.
Casual agreements, only signed by one side. No. With Charles and James, yeah, Charles and James.
Do you want to hear more stories like this? Subscribe to my channel to discover other musicians and gain insight into their lives.
trying to start over again. Start over again.